Don't even consider the thought of compromising your reputation for anything, any sort of gimme, any sort of quick money grab, any sort of just gain in general for yourself, because the world is always watching and karma is a real fucking thing. And if you even consider the thought, that means that you have at least taken one step towards the possibility of doing it. And karma, alongside it being a real thing, that motherfucker stings. Although I've always had this philosophy and I've never done anything to compromise your reputation or even thought about it, I have seen it on the back end of other people doing that such thing. And that's why I always tell people you need to be learning from the mistakes of others as opposed to making them yourself. Trust is the highest valued currency in this world right now, whether it's on social media, whether it's one-to-one conversations like this, or whether it's in a group setting. You have to understand that in today's day and age, people are in a situation where they trust things less and less. We're in a trust recession. And the more trust you have in individuals, whether it's on a grand scheme or on a one-to-one scheme, is going to allow you to go and get indoors, complete actions, and do things that money cannot buy. And that's just a fact. It carries the most weight and you're able to get things done a lot faster because people believe every single thing that you say. Whether you believe in God or not, ultimately up to you. But you need to believe as if there is a higher power watching you at all times, because there is. Alongside the first one that I mentioned, there's always something above you that is watching you, and you need to operate as such. Whether it's picking up some piece of trash that you had dropped, whether it's always being nice to the individual that does not benefit you, no matter what it is, you need to move as if you're always being watched, because in reality you are. Staying in the game is the real flex. I've met so many people that do very well and then they fall off because their mindset was just short term. The goal is you want to be in a situation where you extend your timelines in terms of the way that you think of things. Stop worrying about things I'm gonna need to make this amount a month. I need to make this amount in a quarter, this amount in half a year, this amount in a year, in 5 years. Think about things in decades, because when you build something like that, it's indestructible, right? And when you have something that's indestructible, you obviously are in a situation where you could go and 10, 20 years down the line, live off of what you built. But when you're on a short-term gimmick and a hamster wheel of entrepreneurship, or just whatever sort of financial gain or just gain in general that you're chasing, it's exactly that. It's a hamster wheel and it never ends. So you want to be thinking in decades and build something that lasts, because the real flex is who's going to be around a decade from now. There are often times where you have to just let fires burn. Things just have to happen and you just have to be fine with it. A lot of individuals think, including myself, which is something that's why I mentioned this video, is that as soon as a fire appears, that you need to fix it. And sometimes that fire that you were planning on fixing is not the highest leverage activity that you can be doing. That's just the bottom line. And I've experienced that with the property situation. I've had times where, there was not malpractices, but malactions from some of the tenants, and I had to go and respond to it. But I also had other things in terms of this business, this content I do create. I had to knock out this first and then deal with that, because the world was not going to end if they got immediate attention or not. They could have waited, and that is a very hard decision to make. And sometimes I would go immediately to the fire, even though there was obviously this problem that needed to be solved that was higher leverage, because I thought that the world was going to end and everything was going to suck. But the problem is, the problem with that is that the main revenue driver, the main needle mover is getting postponed because of you believing that this fire is going to end the world. Obviously, if it's very serious, you want to be in a situation where you handle it. But sometimes some fires need to burn for a little bit for you to go and fix it. You don't need to go to everything immediately. Fights are not won on paper. That's just the fucking truth. And it's something you learn from boxing, but it also translates to real life. There are a lot of times where things sound very good on paper, and that's just the truth, right? Some things sound a lot better than they are. Some things sound worse than they are, but they're actually really good. And you have to stop thinking of things based off of what you hear, either online or what you see on paper. It has to come down to reality. Anyone could speak from a position that is hypothetical and sound like a fucking genius. But when you actually get into the real world trenches, get into that real world experience, is what it's actually going to be. Whether it's going to be worse than it actually was, or it's going to be better than it actually was. It is very easy to speak from a hypothetical point of view. It is very easy to say that something's a scam. It is very easy to go and sit on the sidelines. But when you're actually the person in the arena, you get that real world experience that nobody else will ever get, especially if you're at a young age. And anyone that only speaks from outside the arena has never been in it, not people that you should listen to full-heartedly. Doesn't mean that you should block people out, because that is a rude thing to do. But hear people out. Maybe you just don't take it with full conviction and go run with it, but you at least hear them out to hear the perspective of what's on the opposite end of it. Hypothetically, people have always said to me, why do you want to invest in Section 8? Section 8 tenants are bad and all that because of what they hear hypothetically. But from real world experience, Section 8 tenants are the only tenants that I've never had a headache with. The fucking cash ones are the ones I've had a headache with, because I feel like they have an attachment to this money that's going out. And I don't know if it's a situational, but I've always had that personal experience. So what am I going to do? Go and listen to what's on paper, or what I've experienced in the real world? Because do you live life on paper? Are fights fucking won on paper? No, they're not. Final reality. You always want to do the highest leverage activities, but you don't want to shy away from the little activities. Now, what does this mean? Highest leverage activities are obviously, for me, posting more content, getting more clients, helping these clients, and buy more property. That is the fucking bottom line. But there are a lot of individuals that get to that point and they get very frustrated when they have to do smaller tasks, right? And there's people they put in place that sometimes are not able to do the smaller tasks in that moment, and you're getting upset because this person's not doing it. So, for example, me with the little tasks that I talk about that are highest leverage. If I'm getting a call from a prospective tenant, but I know that we need to go and fill up this unit right now where we have one vacancy in our fourplex, if someone calls me and they're trying to move into this unit, but they're not calling the property management, I'm not gonna go, oh, that's not me, that's not on me. Like, I'm just not gonna answer that phone. I need this to get done. So I'm gonna answer that phone. Maybe it's gonna take me 10 minutes, connect to the property management, it's gonna be done. But imagine if I would have said, nah, I'm too good for that. Let me go decline this person, they move on, they go find another property, they move into that one, they pay first month's rent, they pay the deposit, and they move in the same day. I could have had that, but I was shying away from the little tasks. You're not too good for fucking anything. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be in a situation where you take every single little task, but being an entrepreneur, being a boss, being an investor does not come at the backbone of thinking that you're too good for things. It comes at the backbone of not focusing on these low leverage tasks, but also comes at the backbone of saying you're not too good and you're willing to get your hands dirty, and that allows the team around you to go and respect you a lot more, and alongside that want to build something with you. Get active before you try to get passive. Now, getting active, I don't mean scrapping or none of that. I mean, there are a lot of individuals, especially in this real estate game, that want to go and get passive income and make this whole facade that they fucking learned about. And the reason why I speak about this is because at one point I was that individual. I thought, okay, I'm gonna put this money in this property, it's gonna pay me back, I'm never gonna do anything. And the bottom line is that nothing in this world is ever gonna be 100% truly passive. Maybe besides like Social Security, but you had to put the work in and go and put it into that so you get paid for it later, right? Or disability, where you have to get stable. Then you have to deal with the consequences of that, right? And the cons of that. But the thing is that you have to realize what is going to benefit you in real time, and also in the 10 years and the decades framework that I talked about. And when you're in a situation where you think about real time, okay, I need active income. Why do I need active income? So I could build that portfolio that's gonna last me 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So then that version of me could be perfectly fine. However, if you're in a situation where you immediately go to build only that 10 to 20 year person and never build something that could go and allow you to keep replicating that, you're gonna be in a situation where you get constrained on how much cash you have. And when you get constrained on how much cash you have, you're kind of in a predicament where you think, fuck, I did this, I did that, and I can't replicate it because I don't have the active income to go and do so. But if I understand, okay, I have the active income and I have the skill sets that built that portfolio, that's building this portfolio over time, I can go and replicate it and do it over and over. So don't just focus so heavily on passive, because the passive income is great, but it's not gonna change your life the same way that active income is, right? Because you can't just put something in and just magically think that you're not gonna work anymore. It's just not how it works. Still build your passive income, but understand your active income is gonna allow you to keep buying residual, and it's gonna be a flywheel in your benefit. Happiness and being content is more of a decision than it is something that's cause and effect. There are a lot of individuals, including myself, that see it as a matter of saw it as a matter of cause and effect. That if I do this, I'm gonna be happy. If this gets done, I'll be happy. Once I have this, that never-ending cause and effect time frame is gonna put you in a situation where it's always the next hill. It's always the next thing that you can see, and it's always just a never-ending flywheel. And that flywheel is very deadly. And you have to understand that the faster you can make it a decision, and the faster you can make it a matter of perspective, the faster you're going to be happy, and the faster you're going to be content. And that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you're satisfied. There's two different things. You want to be happy and you want to be content. As long as you're alive, there's no reason you should not be content and happy to the fact that you get to go and try this game of life again. Because there are individuals that were super fucking excited to wake up today and they didn't, right? But you got to do that. So why should you not be content? What is another reason that is so bad that you should not be content? Even if things are fucking shitty, you're alive, you woke up. That's all that matters. And it's a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of a decision, not a cause and effect. Never lose track of your identity, ever. Because you will start to go through an identity crisis, especially if your norms are being completely changed. As a Mexicano, typically you're used to making money off the backbone of hard work, breaking sweat, getting your hands dirty. But when you're not doing that, it feels like you're almost going through somewhat of an identity crisis. Like when you've done construction work, you've worked in the kitchen, all the above, like I did. When you're not doing that and you're making an income, it's almost an identity crisis that you don't deserve it. But in reality, you got the skill sets. Why are you going to go and try to go in reverse to what you hated at one point because you don't feel like you're worthy of the skill sets that you put the time and effort and also energy into? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But in that moment of feeling it, it does feel like you're not worthy of it. But the bottom line is that you did the work and you should be content with yourself. Doesn't mean you should be satisfied, but you need to understand that the faster that you could hold on to this identity and this individual of not only who you are, but who you want to be, and strive towards that and don't have any of these other mal thoughts hold you back, you're going to be chilling. Because I've had times like that where your identity gets questioned and it starts to really cause an internal battle that is just very, very, very difficult. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how serious that can be until it happens to them. And I'm one of them. So you need to understand that as long as you keep track of who your identity is and stick to that, you'll be all right. Alongside real assets, like real estate, all the above, that are not liquid, you need liquid assets to bail you out sometimes. And the reason why I mention this is because there are times where things can happen with the property. Stuff breaks, electrical goes, all this bullshit, right? That in reality, once you fix it, it makes the property go up, but it's annoying because it costs money. If you tie all of your money into real estate, it is very hard to be in a situation where if something else happens and you don't have the funds for that, or you have to pull funds that you were doing other higher leverage activities to go and do these smaller things like I mentioned previously, it really starts to fuck with you because you get frustrated, you get upset because you didn't account for it, and it seems more of a mistake and it seems more of a hardship than it actually is, right? If you would have been in a situation where you had those liquid assets, it wouldn't bother you to be an inconvenience. So you don't want to be in a situation where something that is really just an inconvenience becomes something that starts to create resentment towards the action that you made, which was buying the property, or investing in those real assets, or investing in something that is not liquid. So you need a mixture of both, right? And that comes at the backbone of understanding once you start to scale that you don't want to over leverage yourself, but also be in a time where you use leverage properly. It's a very fine balance, and it's ultimately down to the person, such as yourself, to realize what is the amount of risk tolerance do you have, what do you need to do in regards to whether it's in putting in a savings account, something that works for you, and then also understanding what do I have on a monthly basis, or what could possibly happen, and then justifying what is the number that you would need in case it happens, right? To solve those problems in case it happens. So it's always tailored to the person, but you need real assets and you need liquid assets. Liquid cash is cool as well, but at the same time, you wouldn't need to buy assets if the value of the dollar was going up and the value of the dollar meant something very, very tangible as opposed to those assets, right? So understand that you need both. And liquid cash is cool as well, but you don't want to just be tied up in something that's not liquid because it could fuck you. Sometimes time literally just needs time. And there's nothing you could do besides put in the work daily to go and speed that up. And that's something I'm experiencing right now. I'm like, okay, how can we go and leverage these properties we have to go and buy more? But until that appreciation hits, because of the way that we bought it and that we can't really force any more appreciation unless we do some crazy shit that requires more money, sometimes I just need time to have time. The property that we bought for $293 in 2023 toward end of 2022 was worth $150,000. So almost doubled in value within 3 years. So the thing is that I'm in a situation where I get a benefit of that in 3 years, but it's gonna take 3 years. And there's nothing you could do about that. But besides putting the work that you can do and control the controllable, so that once that happens, and you've already built such a foundation that once that time comes and it benefits you that you have this property, you have this asset, you go and leverage and buy more, you've already have the foundation of shit that you've already done without it. So this is just complementary as opposed to being codependent. You want everything in your life to be complementary. You don't want it to be something in the matter of codependence. If you're codependent on that property appreciating in the next 3 years because you need that money in 3 years, you build something that you're codependent on. You're not build something that's complementary to you. And that goes into another one. Confidence without evidence is delusion. A lot of individuals ask me, how do I build confidence? And the problem is that you have no fucking evidence. The only way that you're gonna have confidence is through evidence of the action that you've taken and you knowing for 100% fact that you are who you say you are. And that comes on the backbone of the action, that comes on the backbone of passing the test that life gives you, or God, or higher power, whatever it is that's giving you these fucking tests that are not man-made. These are real fucking tests, putting you to your knees, keeping you there, and then beating you again. And you have to understand that once you go through all that fire, then you will have the confidence. Then you will say, okay, well, this isn't as bad as what I've dealt with previously. And it only comes in the back of going through shit every single day. And that's what entrepreneur is. Entrepreneurship is. It's really just getting kicked in the nuts over and over and over and over and over to the point where you genuinely don't care anymore. That's just the fucking truth. You're gonna have to jump in the water. You cannot learn about how to swim by reading a fucking book. That's just the fucking truth. And you have to accept that. And there's nothing else you could do. Unless you just want to stay in the same spot, which I'd rather die than stay in the same spot. Health is a huge asset. And the reason why I'm going to say this, obviously that's an obvious statement, but the reason why health is an asset is because you are in a situation where everything that you want to do in this world is contingent to your health. That's just the fucking truth. There are people on wheelchairs that wish they could run them out, but it's not. They can't because of their health. And you have a million problems until you have one health problem. And I experienced that very recently, which was actually today is Wednesday, so about 10 days ago. So it was last Monday. I was in a situation where I was perfectly fine on Sunday, which obviously was like 11 days ago. And then that Monday, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was feeling these fucking chills. I was feeling shocks. I feel like pain in my back, through my abdominal, chest, everything. Everything was fucking pain. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I've never experienced it. Took some meds, went to sleep, and I was like, all right, maybe this is like before where I've experienced pain like this. I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm fine. 4 a.m. I same shit, but it's 20 times worse. Pain, sink here, everything. It was so bad to the extent where I genuinely thought I was gonna die. Like, I've never experienced pain like that in my life. Someone that's been through car crashes, someone that boxes every single day, fighting, every you name it, right? And I really realized that after I drove myself to the hospital, after I got shot up with morphine, after I stumbled when I was walking into the ER, left my car there, like all this crazy shit, right? I don't want to go into that too much. But in that moment, I didn't give a fuck about anything besides my health. I was like, I just need to live through this next fucking day. And I've always had that philosophy that health is most important. You have a million problems, you have one. But once you really, really experience it, it amplifies every decision else that you make. And I've always been a healthy individual. I've always taken care of myself. I've always worked out all the above. But now it's 20 times. Whatever you are chasing is going to be harder than you think, and it's going to take more time than you think. And there is nothing wrong with that. I believe one of the hardest things for me to accept was that although a lot of things I accomplished were in such a short time, and it's just over and over and over, and I have these long-term goals, and I'm slowly, gradually going towards all the above. You never realize how much action it's going to take until you're actually in a position where you accomplish it. And you look back, and especially for me, like after I signed the most recent property, which was in July, it basically closed on August 1st or July 30th, one of those 2 days. And I was in San Diego, I was on a jet ski. I said, damn, the only reason I'm here is because of the fucking night somebody saw, because of the content I had to post, because of the meetings I had to have, the people I had to speak with that went nowhere, the offers I submitted that got rejected, the properties that I was scanning, the fucking high income skill sets I had to develop, the mentorship that I had to get. Like, all this fucking shit plays through your mind of all the actions you've done up until this point, and you realize, damn, like, would I be able to handle it if it happened halfway through that? Because in reality, you're just becoming the individual that is capable and not necessarily always deserving, but I guess you could say earning of that feeling, of that benefit, of that accomplishment. Because what type of individual would you have been if it would have happened earlier? Would you have been someone that would have handled it? Would that person be deserving of it? Would that person have fumbled the opportunity? And I think that you need to be impatient with your actions, but be patient with the results, because it's happening at the right time for a reason. And sometimes you are in a situation where you don't see that, and you start to play these mind games in your head, and then ultimately either you step it up or you step down. And I think that if you are in a situation where you can analyze that, you'll move correctly. And there's nothing wrong with anything taking longer and then for it being harder, because growth is not linear. That's another one I'm gonna talk about later. But another one is this. The fastest way to become the individual that you want to be is by reverse engineering about who you don't want to be, because it's a lot easier, right? I don't want to be someone that cannot be trusted. I don't want to be someone that people don't want to be around. I don't want to be somebody, I hate not being able to go to lunch with my family and my sisters, my sisters. I hate not being able to go on a trip. If you're able to reverse engineer that, it makes your life so much easier, and it makes the actions that you need to take a lot easier and straightforward. Because the biggest reason why a lot of people do not succeed in the endeavors that they pursue is they don't have clarity. And that was something that I lacked 100%, was clarity on this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And that's what makes entrepreneurship so hard, is a lack of clarity. When you go to a 9 to 5, they tell you exactly what needs to be done. If you can analyze what you don't want to be and what you hate, you can become exactly who you want to be. simplicity always wins. And you need to make a list of the highest ROI activities and stick to them. Right? Because that shiny object syndrome is going to be always there. Always there. You always feel like the next big thing is better than this and what you're doing right now, and the trench work is not worth it, and I could be doing. Slow the fuck down. Analyze what are the most high leverage activities you could be doing and fucking do them. That's just the bottom line. For me, right now, it's running more ads, getting more clients, getting them results, and buy more property. Nothing else fucking matters. No fucking website. No investing into a bunch of camera equipment. No buying a fucking primary property. None of that shit. Maybe the primary is something that's a personal goal, but it's not a needle mover. And you have to understand what is the difference between the two. And you need to self-analyze your situation in your life and say, what are the needle moving activities for me? What am I going to go and do that is going to give me the best return on my investment of time, money, and energy? For me, it is those things I listed. For you, it may be completely different. But if you can't analyze that, you're just going to be doing busy work. And busy work is not something that actually moves the ball forward most of the time. And if you're able to always move the ball forward, it is also a mindset shift of, oh shit, well, I made X amount. I did X amount of things in 2 hours and got this amount of progress, as opposed to when I worked 8 to 10 hours and nothing really happened. Another thing is satisfaction is really a decision. And there's always a negative way to look at absolutely everything, because that is a self-choice. And there's also a self-choice to look at everything positively. For example, when I bought my most recent property, then I bought a mentorship right after. It was basically close to like $30,000 personally just going out. And I never really spent that much back to back because I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy this property, then there's holding costs, miscellaneous, because the property, whole acquisition, the whole everything was probably like 40 grand. It was like 42, whatever, between me and my business partner. And then I bought this program, it was 14 grand. And I was like, okay, well, that wasn't a very smart decision, because you should have like chilled for a little bit, got some more clients, boom, 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 instead of going back to back. But the thing is that's a negative way to look at it. Obviously, fucking everything worked out, and everything started to grow, and boom, 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 and it was one of the best decisions I made. But the bottom line was that I could have looked at the perspective of, if I would have been in a situation where I did not do this, where would I have been? And I can't tell you. I have no idea where I would have been if I never bought that most recent property. After I bought the most recent property, I had one of the most viral videos happen fucking overnight that I made in a matter of 5 seconds. Probably a video almost has like 1 million views. And that got me so much more business. So if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be. Alongside the program, I learned so many fucking skill sets, and it transformed my entire business. What if I didn't do that? And I think that if I would have not done that, and I had all this liquid cash sitting, I was talking to Alex, I said, if we would have this liquid cash sitting, in our mind, we would have said, we need to buy more assets, we need to do more things. Why do we have this cash sitting doing nothing? So the bottom line is that there's always a negative way to look at it. I could have been in that situation in the future tense, which would be right now, without having done those decisions, and had the regret to say, fuck, man, like I should have bought that property. And that is not the life I want to live. I never want to live a coulda, shoulda, woulda, anything, ever. I'd rather fall on my fucking face over and over and over and over than be in a situation where I had the coulda, shoulda, woulda and been on the sidelines comfortable. Because that feeling of, dude, I have this liquid cash, what am I doing with it? That is the feeling of the individuals that come across to me that don't do fucking anything. And then I speak to them 3, 6 months, 9, 12 months down the road, and they're still in the same boat. And I don't want to be like that. And I can't go and give that perspective and that insight and that fucking confidence to speak from a position of authority to the people that I want to help if I've never fucking done it. Where it didn't seem smart to go back to back. Where it didn't, because in reality it was 6 units, 2 properties, and then the fucking mentorship right back. How am I gonna give the insight onto really fucking pushing your limits to the max to someone if I've never done it? So there's always a negative way to look at things. There's always a positive way to look at things. But I look at it from the positive outlook that I would not be in the situation I am. And if I didn't do it, I would have hated that situation that I would have been in. This couples another one. Growth is not linear, and neither is failure. And that is one of the fucking truest things that, especially the last 3 months of the year, was for me. I felt like when I went back to back, it was property purchases from like April to maybe from March to April. I felt like I was just like this. Like I was, getting my clients, boom, was helping people, all the above, and then boom, I had my fucking business in Times Square. That was the first spark. And then it started to cool a little bit, right? Because that was towards like the end of April. Then boom, under contract, my first property in California, 4-plex. I'm like, oh shit, this is moving a little bit fast. Then we ended up getting paid to buy that property, so we came out of pocket with 0. So the linear went back again, down, just gradual, still filling that unit up. Then it fucking transcended by another one. Then that was when the video got 1 million views, started getting all these views coming in. People wanted to work with us. And then buying that program sharpened my skill sets, got around even fucking higher net worth individuals, higher skilled individuals, different groups, different rooms, because business is really just the people walking in the room and saying things. And I got into all of that, and now I'm in a situation where I'm chasing even more things. But it wasn't linear. And then when I experienced triumph towards the end of the year, where you had tenant fallout, this, that, all this bullshit, right? That wasn't linear either. It felt like fucking things happen in threes. Boom, 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 boom. Just down, down, down of shit that is not easy, especially as like a 20-year-old or at 20 years old and then 21 years old. It's not easy to deal with, right? And I think that you have to understand that it's when both ends are not linear, you're just in a season of where you're about to go and propel back forward up the other way. Whether you're on the top, things go down, it's gonna happen not in a linear aspect. Same way with the contrary. And I think that's something once you accept, makes life a lot easier. And the reason why it makes your life a lot easier, because you realize, okay, well, I'm just headed in an upward spiral. Maybe it's gonna go down, maybe it's gonna go up. I can't control that, I can only control the controllables. And when I'm on a high, you're gonna be grateful. And then when you're on the low, you're gonna be graceful. It's two completely different things. And then the other one goes into with your stress tolerance, right? The success is directly in accordance with your stress tolerance. And people see stress as a bad thing. I don't want to be stressed. How are you gonna live without life without stress that's actually meaningful, that actually comes with success, right? And I believe that with that being said, this stress that you're feeling, it's not a bad thing. Stress means that you're alive. The worst feeling that you can have in this world, which is I've experienced before, but I stopped myself out of it and took, obviously action to do that, is when you feel nothing at all. If you feel nothing at all, that is a lot worse than feeling stressed. Be grateful that you have stress, be stuff to be stressed about that you could actually go and fix, and that is a first world fucking issue. There are people in third world countries getting fucking limbs blown off, and you're worried about someone that fucking someone that follow you back on Instagram. Are you fucking serious? Like, say the shit out loud so you can see how fucking dumb you sound. And that's why I believe if you analyze stress from a perspective of that I'm alive, that's all that matters. Let me fix this. And you laugh it off, it makes life so much easier. And that's from personal experience. And then the last one I want to put for you guys is that be where your feet are, enjoy life, live life. Do not try to add as many years to your life. Try to add as much life to your years. A lot of people try to live longer before they try to live better. And this is speaking for someone that wants to be workaholic, do shit, do this, boom, 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 everything ROI, boom, boom, boom. I am telling you. Especially when I went to that road trip in Sedona, it really opened my eyes on that. Be your age, obviously still work hard, all the above, but don't wait for X thing to happen to go and start living your life. That's just the bottom line. Because things may happen to you. Imagine when I told you about that health scare, that shit would wipe me out. I would never have been able to experience the stuff that I want to experience, such as this Turkish trip that I have coming up in about 3 weeks. If that would have wiped me out. And I didn't know that was gonna happen. I felt perfectly fine. Right? But now I said, all right, now I have this trip, I have that, I have to do the things. Because you never know when your fucking last day is. And that's just the truth. Show me one thing in this world that tells you exactly when your last day is gonna be. There's nothing. People that are fucking said, hey, where the doctor says, hey, you have 3 months to live. Some people surpass that shit. Some people it's in 1. And you're gonna be faced with that battle of, once I get to X amount of money a month, I'm gonna do it. And that bar is gonna continue to get raised. So take that trip, enjoy yourself, live life, add more life to your years, be where your feet are, work hard at the same time, and enjoy it with the people around you. That's why I'm taking my mom, taking my sisters, all into Turks. I didn't even know where it was on a fucking map. Now we're going, right? That is the whole point of the shit that you do. Don't say that you want to go and build a life that could benefit your family and giving them different experiences. If once the opportunity presents itself, you don't do it. Tell me how that makes any sense. So appreciate you guys watching. These are just 21 thoughts off the dome. I didn't go and like premeditate this for a very amount of time. I literally just wrote them down onto a Google Doc and ripped it. So appreciate you guys. I hope you guys continue to crush it. And who knows, maybe at 22 I'll make this exact video. But let's get to it.